This is The Spot, a BYU-Idaho radio production where we talk about what you're talking about at BYU-Idaho. Today's hosts are me, McKenna Davies,
John Villarreal,
Celeste Simmons,
and special guest,
Ehlana Buchanan.
The views and opinions of this podcast are not that of BYU-Idaho Radio or the university and are solely the opinions of the hosts. Today's episode is a fun one with our special guest. We're going to be talking about what it's like to have kids in college. So our guest, Ehlana, do you want to kind of introduce yourself? Are you in school still? Those kinds of things.
Yeah, so I graduated this past April. I graduated with just a general psychology bachelor's. I have a son. He is a little over a year old now. And I mean, I've lived in Rexburg for 5 years, been married for 5 years, so there's not much more about me.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Missouri.
No way, me too.
Yeah.
Wait, we didn't even talk about this before. What part?
Do you know where Sedalia is?
Sedalia. No, I was from St. Louis.
Okay,
Are you
so
on the other side?
I'm in the very middle where the state fair is.
Oh,
but,
okay.
yeah.
Fun. Okay, so grew up in Missouri, came to Rexburg, got married, and had a son like the year you're about to finish school, right? The year
Yes.
before.
Yeah, so I actually had him the first day of spring semester, and I didn't want to push back my schooling. I was so ready to just be graduated.
Yeah.
And so I just emailed my professors like, hey, I just had my baby today, so if I could have just a couple extra days. And they said, they're like, oh, you can have way more than just a couple. It's like, no, I don't need that. I'm cooler than that. I don't need like a week or anything. I got this. So
I feel like professors are really understanding when it comes to marriages and babies. They're like, take as much time as you need. Like, my husband is in just like one online class. And for our wedding and honeymoon, he just emailed like, hey, I'm getting married. And the teacher's like, oh, just let me know when you turn stuff in and I'll grade it. You know, like it won't be late. So I do appreciate that about BYU-I.
Yeah, I feel like only at BYU-Idaho.
I know.
Yeah.
Because like they understand families and know that that's really important.
Other colleges
that.
be like, nah, you still have to turn it in.
Yeah.
Too bad you had your baby.
You shouldn't have done
Right?
school
Oh, right.
while you had it. Yeah.
You're recovering? Oh, well. It's still due Friday.
Yeah.
So what was it like? Maybe we'll start with what was it like being pregnant while in school?
So I decided that in my third trimester of pregnancy and also the first semester when I had him to do online.
Yeah.
I had a really super easy pregnancy. It was great. You hear a lot of stories about how people are just like, get this baby out of me. I'm so done. And I was ready for the baby to come out, not because I was miserable or anything. I was just like, I'm so excited. So it wasn't very hard for me. And I do really well with online classes. So I was able to stay on top of all my assignments. But I didn't think pregnancy was nearly as hard as having a newborn because their schedules are so crazy. They're sleeping for a lot of the day, but you never know when they're going to wake up, and you're kind of adjusting to feeding schedule and doing. I had people come to help with like housework and stuff, but you still have to make sure the house is clean. We had a dog. I had to make sure he was taken care of, and so it was a lot more chaotic after having the baby than it was when I was pregnant.
Yeah. Well, I guess online is a little bit more helpful. So you didn't have to go onto campus for classes?
Not at first.
Not at first. Oh, but did you later?
So that after that semester, I didn't have any other classes I could take online. They're like, nope, all the rest is on campus. And so I had to find someone to watch my son. I had my sister do it. I don't think I was on time to any class that semester, maybe the first week. But I'd like get ready to go out the door and I would have throw up or something on my shirt. It's like, I can't go to class like this. Or I wouldn't even notice till I got to class. And I was like, oh, I hope no one minds that I smell like baby vomit.
Yeah.
So then it was in campus 2022 then? Because I know like COVID stopped, like they stopped doing the online classes and they were making us go to in person. Was that when you started having to go in person, right? Because you had your baby in the spring of last year?
Yes.
Okay.
So I just had already taken all of the general classes. There's not very many psychology classes offered online. And so I'd already taken all the generals for those 2 semesters. And I just had psychology classes left. Like, we don't have options online. So
Had to go back.
yeah.
Do you know, are teachers okay with you bringing a baby into class? It's a big no.
I don't know about the other campus buildings or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I know for the ones I was in, it was like, you're not allowed to bring your kid into class. I'm sure if it was a last minute thing and it was a really important class, they'd let you. But there's posters in the room.
Really?
Like, you're not supposed to bring your kid in here. And so that made it hard whenever my babysitter was sick or if my son was really sick. Not that I would bring a sick kid to class. That wouldn't be any fun. But if my babysitter wasn't able to watch him, I was like, okay, well, I just can't go to class today because I don't have anything to do with Oliver. So
That's crazy. I don't think I've ever seen a baby in class. Have you guys?
I have. Yeah, in one of my classes in the communication department, so in the Sporey building, this kid would sometimes bring his kid to class, like occasionally, because I think his wife like worked random hours or something like that. Our teacher was pretty chill with it. He was like, "Oh, your baby's here," like really nice about it. But it was a little distracting because she was really cute and she was like really baby, like very small. So she would like make little noises.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It was cute, but it was definitely a little distracting.
I feel like especially when girls see a baby, we just want to hold the baby.
Exactly.
So that would be distracting.
I haven't seen like a baby in class, but I've seen like I think strollers or like walking around campus and stuff like that.
Yeah, see them on campus a lot.
Or on like the crossroads and stuff like that with families and things like that. But I don't think I've seen one in class, or it's never been, I guess, distracting enough for me to notice. I don't know.
Ehlana, are you one of the moms that walk around the track with the stroller?
no, because I didn't realize that was a thing.
I know, it's so cute.
And my friend, she's going to have a baby in October. She's like, that's what we're going to do. And I was like, yeah, I wish we would have done that before.
It's so cute. I see like little mom groups that walk around the track. That's going to be me. So tell us about how you balanced school and parenthood.
You have to be good at time management. I thought I was good at time management before I had a baby. And then you have to have it like clockwork, essentially. So it was, okay, baby's down. I have this much time to get this done. And I know I need to do 4 assignments a day to have it done whenever it's due. And I like turning things in early. I know some people are fine with turning it in the day of. That stresses me out. So for me, I'm like, okay, if I want to get everything done early and not be stressed about it, 4 assignments a day, you have to do it when the baby's sleeping. And sometimes it's hard because you have just the one hand. I'd be holding him. And he didn't want me to lay him down. So it's like, okay, you can sleep.
Typing with one hand.
Writing papers with one hand takes forever. Oh my gosh.
You didn't use like the voice command?
Yeah,
on the
that's what I was
computer?
thinking. Little
just
voice
like,
I
text.
didn't even think of that. Now that
Then
I'm
you'd
graduated.
wake your baby up
Yeah,
if they were
true.
sleeping. So
One of my brother, he has 2 kids. They're like they're 3 years old, 3 and 4 now. But when they were little babies, the sleep schedule was hectic. He was like every morning, I'd wake up like at 3 or 2 because they'd start crying, and so he'd go to see them and everything to make sure they were fine. And then one night they just slept through the night, and he thought they died. He was like, he was scared. And
That is a worry you have.
he woke up like, oh my goodness, he didn't cry like he usually does every night. And then he's like, oh no, he's fine. Okay.
Oh yeah, there's definitely been times my baby slept really good and only ever woke up like once in the night and was sleeping through the night at 6 weeks. So I was very lucky.
That's nice.
Oh yeah, super lucky. Exception, not the rule. But whenever he started like not waking up at all, I was like, is he still breathing? He hasn't moved in the last 30 minutes. I checked the monitor. You go in and like, okay, he's fine.
He's breathing. Yeah.
He's breathing.
Yeah, that's true. There's so much adjustment to being a mom, right? This is your first child, plus you're in school. So how is the adjustment to having a baby?
I think for me, I think I overcorrected a bit. Like I just did a lot of homework at the beginning. But it's figuring out what to do, how to do, what times work, how am I supposed to catch up on sleep if I didn't sleep last night? And going to classes whenever you don't have any sleep is really hard because I just want to lay in bed. I honestly think just having time for yourself was the biggest adjustment. You don't. It's non-existent if you're going to school and have a baby or an older child. I'm not at that stage yet, but you kind of don't have any time for yourself if you're doing that. And then I also later on was like, oh, I'm going to work part-time as an online TA. And that was a process. Yeah. It's
Working, school, and baby.
And the relationship.
Yeah.
You gotta
Marriage.
maintain that.
Right.
It's
That's a good
hard.
point.
That's hard. We actually had someone interview us for a psychology class, my husband and I, about the changes that happen once you have a baby. My husband was like, yeah, well, our relation, not like in a mean way, but he's like, our relationship kind of had to go on the back burner because we just weren't even thinking about that. And so now that my son's older and way more independent, we have been able to figure kind of that thing out too. So
yeah. How long were you guys married before you had your son?
4 years.
4 years. Okay.
Yeah, 4 years, and then we had him like a week before our 4-year anniversary. So.
Yeah. So yeah, you were kind of used to your routine probably as a married couple, and then it had to go on the back burner a bit.
Yeah, and I'm glad we did it that way. I honestly can't imagine having a baby right after getting married.
Yeah,
that would have been so crazy.
That's a true test right there.
Yeah.
Like, oh well, we got kids now. We got to stick it out.
Right.
I don't even know what it's like to live with you. Now we got to figure out how to live with a child.
Right. So do you feel like you get different reactions from people when you tell them like you had a baby while you were in school or that you were pregnant?
I think here you don't have as much of a reaction, but I am going to be completely honest. In a lot of my classes, after I had my baby, like I brought him up a lot.
Yeah.
In like all my classes.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe there are some people like, oh my gosh, we get it. You have a kid.
Yeah.
Like, stop. We get it. No one actually told me that. And it's not like I was looking around to see how people responded.
Someone said that. They're like, we get it.
No.
Just kind of like assumption, I guess.
Yeah.
You're like, they must be sick and tired of me just like shoving my baby in their face.
Literally, all the time I was like, oh yeah, well my son.
Yeah.
I don't have to talk about it. I tell that
Right, you're
to
like
myself.
In developmental psychology, you're like, well, actually, my son is, like, you just like use him as an example for the class.
Well, and it was crazy. In most of my psychology classes, they would ask, like, oh, who has kids? And it'd be just me, or me and one other person, which is really surprising.
Yeah.
I feel like,
Right.
and
Especially
maybe
like
it's just
by
a
the time you're a
psychology degree.
senior.
Right, today we're talking about postpartum depression. No, I'm sorry.
No, I mean, it's a thing. It's important to talk about. But yeah, in all of my classes, they would ask that and be like, me and one other person. So I feel like there are some people who are probably, we need to talk about something else.
I'm actually so passionate about that, though. I do feel like maybe we feel pressure to not talk about a big life event that just happened, like mission. I know sometimes people will tease you right when you get home from a mission. Like, is that all you can talk about?
It's like those memes where they're like, you go on a date with the guy and he talks about his mission. I was an AP and this and that,
He like orders in Spanish.
Yeah, orders in Spanish. But that was like literally the big life event that just happened for like 2 years, So of course, those are the only things you can really think of. And same with like, I just got married, right? So that's on my mind. Or you had a kid, that was on your mind. So I think we should cut people some slack maybe and let them, tell their life experiences that they're going
block
through.
those people on social media now. Like,
You're having another baby, unfriend.
Right.
Yeah.
Take your happiness elsewhere.
Were any of us college babies?
No.
No, I wasn't.
I mean, my
I
parents
wasn't.
didn't even go to college. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a first generation college. My parents are from Mexico.
Awesome.
So like my mom had me when she was 20 and my dad was 25. They were married. And I think they had me literally like they conceived me a couple months after their marriage. Yeah. If the math is right on that.
Yeah, neither of my parents finished college. They did a little bit and then they got married and then just started their family pretty early in their marriage. So they were like, yeah, we won't do school. But back then you really didn't need a degree to get a good job,
Yeah.
but now you do. So do you feel like there are any stereotypes for the BYU schools with like having babies?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, BYU-I is called BYU-Idaho.
Right.
It's where you come to get married, right?
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
For your Mrs. degree, right?
Uh-huh. And I think the same thing goes with kids. Well, I mean, as soon as you get married, everyone, whether it's in your classes or I think especially at church, like, oh, hey, so you're married. When are you going to have a kid?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well.
I do that with my friends. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to push that
Stereotype.
stereotype. I like pressure them. So when's the kid coming?
Yeah.
Well, it's different if you're joking, because I think you can tell when someone's just teasing you about it versus
because they know it's the stereotype
right
question.
versus when people are seriously like, no, like, when are you gonna have
Yeah,
a
when
kid?
are you gonna keep the first commandment? Be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah. I feel like it's always the old lady in the ward, you know?
So you're not having kids? What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've been married for 6 months.
I feel like that is a stereotype. Like, oh, you're married, like better start having kids. But you don't know everyone's situation. Like maybe they can't have kids, or maybe they just don't want to because they're like 20, or you know what I mean? Like people get married so young here, and they might be ready to be a wife and a husband, but maybe not ready to be a parent, because that's something totally different. So I think people need to have, I mean, obviously when it's a joke and it's your friends, it's funny, but when people are serious, it's like, you don't know anything about me.
It's like one of my cousins, I didn't know she had like medical complications. She has been trying for years and had miscarriages, and did what's called IVF or and it didn't work for a while because it takes a while, and so she had like an immune compromised disease or something, so it took a couple years. But everyone kind of in the family was like, oh, they've been married for like 7-8 years, when's the baby coming? And it was like, finally she had a kid, but she posted a long story saying, like, explaining kind of her journey and the process and the hurt and everything. And so it's true, we don't know people's story, we don't know what's going on, and whether it's medical or it's something like, emotional, or, maybe just they don't have that fear of having kids, so we shouldn't judge them.
Right, and it can be a really sensitive question, like you were saying, like, that was probably so frustrating for her to not be able to have kids for a long time. So when people ask, she's like, thanks a lot for bringing up the thing that's really hard for me. Yeah. Well, I think we have a game or trivia.
Yes, I have some trivia questions.
So Ehlana will probably be the pro.
Should we, or how is it like, should you ask us because we're the novices, and then ask her at the end so we're not influenced by her answers?
I feel like because this is about student parents, so like students who are parents, and so I feel like
none of us really know.
No one really has the advantage. It's kind of just random.
Okay.
So there's 2 true or false, and then 2 I have like multiple answers that you can choose from. So the first one is, what % of college students are parents? The first one's 22%. Second is 15%, and then 10% and 5%. So what percentage of college students are parents?
Like in BYU-Idaho, or just college in general?
No, in like America.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Ooh, that changes.
Yeah, that does.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 22.
I'm going to say 15%, right? That was my choice?
Yeah.
I'll say 15.
All right, Ehlana's right. 22% of college students are parents.
And I feel like that's because a lot more older people are going back to college.
That makes sense. College is pretty wide.
You don't have to be like 22 anymore.
Yeah.
All right, second question. What percentage of student parents are single mothers? And this is just across America. 70%, 62%, 35%, and 22%.
If it's 70, that's a big percentage.
I'll say 35.
What was the other choices? 30? Sorry.
You're good. 70, 62, 35, 22.
I'm going to go 62.
I think 62
really?
as well.
It's 62.
Wow.
So
that's a lot.
Yeah, it says here
over half.
70% of student parents are mothers, but 62% of them are single mothers. And among the 30% of fathers attending college, these individuals are 1.6 times more likely to be married than their woman counterparts in the classroom. All right, a third question. This is true or false. Less than half of student parents drop out before finishing their degree.
True.
Less than half?
Yeah, less than half drop out.
Oh,
I'm going to say it's false. I feel like more.
False, sorry.
False.
False then.
It's false. It's more than half drop out. Yeah.
Because I think
it's hard.
Here in BYU, that happens a lot too. People drop out because like they'll have kids and it just life gets busy.
Or they say they stop going so that their spouse can finish, and then they go back like late, or they never come back.
Or they never get to,
Yeah.
I had a teacher actually in high school. I was going to study music, and she's like, okay, but are you going to be one of those, members of your church that get married and then drop out of school? She's like, I want to see you finish school. So, okay.
And then you're like, I'm not even going to music anymore.
Yeah. I didn't change my major, sorry.
Was she not a member?
No, because I grew up in Missouri, so.
There's not that many there. We chased him out, remember?
Yeah, I know.
All right, last question. True or false, student parents get better grades than their classmates who are not parents?
I'm going to say that's false, just because of time management.
I'm going to say true, though.
I'm going to say true, too. I feel like there's a level of determination.
It's true.
Oh.
They get better grades. I want to see what it says here. Yeah, so despite the challenges that they face, many student parents are more driven than their peers without children. Approximately 33% of student parents earn a GPA of 3.5 or higher.
Wow. Awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks for the trivia.
Yeah, some new knowledge for you guys.
Yes. We love our parents, student parents.
That single mother stat is crazy.
I know, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the kids.
I wonder how it's changed in the past 10 years too. It's probably gone up.
It's probably
a lot.
it's probably gone way up. Yeah.
Well, do you have any advice, Ehlana, for those who are going to be parents that are in school?
If you are expecting or wanting to have kids while you're in school, work on the time management now. Do it now. Figure out a routine for you and your spouse and try to figure out how you're going to stay connected before having the baby. That way you kind of already know, okay, every month we need to go on a date once a month. We're going on it the third week every month or whatever. And then just know your limit. If you can't do 12 credits, do less. If you need to take a semester off, take a semester off. But it's so awesome to be able to say that I was a mom and completed my degree while having a baby. It's a huge accomplishment for me. And I'm really proud of myself that I was able to do that. So just figure out, don't push yourself too hard because that's not good for anybody. But don't give up because you can do it. There's plenty of people who do. You can do it. So try it. And just if you work on the routines and the kind of, I don't know the word for it, but time management and
avoiding procrastination.
Yes. Just figuring out how to kind of get into your groove before the baby gets there. It's going to be way easier after you have a baby to kind of adjust little tweaks instead of a huge tweak.
Right. Okay, let me change everything I've done for the past 3 years.
Let me change my sleep schedules completely.
Yeah, exactly. What would you say we can do as students that don't have kids? What can we do to support?
Well, if you're friends with people who have kids, if you're able to reach out and if you kind of have a freer schedule, hey, if you ever have a babysitter call in or whatever, and I'm free, I'm happy to help you out if you need to go to class or have to go take a test. One of the things that was super helpful for me is I had a TA. I had to do a lab I was training rats last semester, or my last semester, and children are not allowed in labs. And so I could not find people to watch. And so I was just oh my gosh, I need to get these hours in. And the TA was we'll have an extra TA there. She'll watch your kid just right outside the lab classroom.
Aww,
so nice to be able to say, or hey, I need to go take a test. It closes tonight. My husband was supposed to be able to come home, but he's late at work and I'm not going to make it. Just to be able to have someone there. Or I feel a lot of parents who have kids that cry a lot get a lot of kind of dirty looks or whatever. Quiet your kid, but just smile to them, be hey, you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
I used to tell people, not tell people, but I used to say it to my head and myself. When I see a kid crying in a grocery store or somewhere, I used to say it's a joke. It's a Latino joke. It's no les pegues, which means don't hit them. But it's just a joke that Latinos say.
Is that because of the chakla thing?
Or the belt, or and they're just crying for no reason. The parents aren't doing anything. They're just crying. But we used to be we could go up to the parent, especially if they're Latino, and be don't hit them, and they would laugh. The parent would laugh.
Help kind of diffuse the situation too.
I don't know if you do that to an American person, parent. They'd be how dare you accuse me of?
I would never.
It's a joke, lady.
It's not as common to say. That's funny. Yeah, that's really good advice. I think it's true. Just being that backup and offering, and I mean, it's an hour, 2 hours at a time. If it's last minute class or a test that you need to take, it's really just a couple hours. And
so offer to babysit.
Yeah.
So all you
I would
single
love
people
to watch
who's
your child.
got married friends with kids, be hey, I'm free on Saturdays, whatever. Instead of going to dance, you offer to babysit. That way they can do what they need to do, go on a date, go do their schoolwork, whatever.
Yeah, or even just hanging out with them. I felt so by myself all the time after having a baby because I was doing online classes and so I didn't need to go anywhere. But it was just they're people, I always say, I just need some human interaction. My baby is a human, but
they don't
adult,
talk to me.
Adult interaction. And I still do. He's walking around and he's babbling and stuff, and he's a lot more fun now. But still, if you're I don't really want to watch their kid, I don't want that responsibility. Just go and hang out with them. But if if you're able to just be like, hey, I'm going to come talk with you, or let's go walk around the track or whatever. Yeah, just spending time with them. I feel like moms especially, I'm not a dad, so I can't speak for dads, but moms especially, I think right at the beginning feel kind of
a little lonely.
Alone. And like, oh, well, this is all I do every day. And
Do you have like a mom group, or is there like a certain like mom group here that you like hang out with, and y'all all talk and be like, well, my baby is doing this, and then y'all compare your babies and stuff, and then
I actually don't. I have had the hardest time finding other mom friends. So I was the first person, like friend in my and my husband's friend group to have a kid, and then. So, not that they are like, you can't hang out with us because you have a kid now. We still hang out, but...
You can't sit with us.
Yeah. But trying to find other people that are also moms, it's been really difficult. I haven't had very many people who will hang out the first time, and then I'm like, oh, I think that went really well. Our kids got along too. It's great. And then we never talk ever.
Yeah.
So... a group like that would be, maybe
need
BYU needs like a mom support group.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, we will look into that. Maybe we can start
and then you just
something.
like, compare your kids' achievements. Well, my kid's starting kindergarten. And, Timmy's eating glue, okay, buddy?
Well, it was so cute. So I just had my wedding, and 2 of my bridesmaids are moms. One has 2 kids, and one has a 1-year-old, or he's a little older than that now. And so it was cute hearing them talk. Like, they finally had mom friends and could talk about what their kids were doing. And I'm not in that stage, but I'm still like, I feel like their aunt, their kids. So it's fun, like, just hearing the different accomplishments that their kids are hitting. And
so, McKenna, now that you're married, when are you going to have kids?
I know. Well, the goal is after college.
TikTok,
but
right? No.
Like we talked with Ehlana, you just never know.
Yeah. Sometimes that's the plan, and you're doing
change.
Everything that you can to make that happen, and God has other plans for
Exactly,
you.
yeah.
Like, there's no way that should have happened, but I did.
Yep. Well, thanks so much for joining the episode. This was
course.
so fun hearing about motherhood and college and how you've been able to still graduate and, have 2 great accomplishments while you're in school, having a kid and graduating. So thanks for joining. You've been listening to The Spot, a production of BYU-Idaho Radio. Today's hosts were me, McKenna Davies,
John Villarreal,
Celeste Simmons,
and special guest,
Ehlana Buchanan.
The views and opinions of this podcast are not that of BYU-Idaho Radio or the university and are solely the opinions of the hosts. This episode was edited by me, McKenna Davies. Producers were the hosts with supervision by Brandon Isle. Our theme music is Finding Happiness by DJ Quads and The Perpetual Ticking of Time by Artificial Music. To listen to more episodes of The Spot, like and follow us on social media or visit our website, byui.edu/radio, and click podcasts. Be sure to subscribe to the BYU-Idaho Radio podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, or wherever you get your podcasts. And also leave a review of the show and leave a comment on what we should talk about next.